I didn't want to tell her that, but now she knows.
Bars.
So it's going to be a lot of walks and parks. Parks, lovely parks.
I can do parks. All right, Kate.
That's a shame, Jenny. I heard you're a big drinker.
My parents are watching.
First of all, congratulations on a remarkable career. You answered with the fact that you have to be disconnected from your emotions as an athlete and having to be a lead. And sometimes you go weeks without smiling and don't even realize it. I felt that so much. I said, wow, yeah, we've seen that from Alex. The fact that she takes everything so seriously, her competitiveness is there, and that the only time you get to be you is when you win. You've won. You've won everything on and off the pitch. Do you feel that? Do you feel the lightness, the weight lifted off of you, kind of reflecting that you absolutely did win?
Yeah, don't make me cry right now. Yeah, I feel...
It was going to happen at some point, Alex.
Gosh, why?
Not great. I'm in the press box, and everyone in the first 10 minutes said this referee is having a hard time keeping up with this game. We then look into him only having about 7 center referee appearances before that. So it kind of reverberated around the press room that the referee was having a hard time from the beginning. We saw very different moments, right? We see the yellow card, and then the play continues. I've never seen anything like that before, Ian Joy. You have been in football for a long time. I'm sure you have not seen it at this level either, where a yellow card is being given, but the play is continued so quickly. That has to be a whistle after a yellow card. I'm not a referee, and I know that, and everybody was appalled that that was let continue. Obviously, the goal then, that standing, it's just, I don't want to be talking about the referee decisions at this level. We're at a Copa America that is being hosted. This is the top level of football that we're going to see, and we're talking about referee decisions. How is that possible with VAR? In VAR, you go back and you see that clearly all of us in the press room are saying, oh, no goal. You see Tyler Adams going back after seeing the video himself to his team. You see him signify, I'm not sure whether this comes across on the broadcast, he is signifying to his team, oh, no goal, no goal. He has walked away signifying no goal because he has seen it on the monitor, yet the referee says it's a goal. So that is definitely frustrating. But at the same time, you leave it up to these little tiny moments and the referee decision because you didn't take care of business in your first 2 matches. And that's where the big question comes in, because the Uruguay match was always going to be tough and you didn't want to leave it to this moment, but you did. You're in that situation via the effort that they showed here, whether there was a tactical game plan or whatever it may be. I know you want me to answer a little bit more on the U.S. here, Ali. I'm sorry, but this is huge. This is huge. The U.S. was outplayed. They're already qualified, so I don't think that it's the biggest loss in the world. They can still come out and win this tournament. And moments like these, when they lose, are great growth moments to make sure that never happens again, to make sure that when they have the Shibboleth's Cup and the Olympics, they fix these problems. Being exposed to these problems is exactly what they've been asking for. They've been asking for better CONCACAF competition so that they can see where their holes are. And this was a great representation of that exactly.
Jenny, you're completely right. Mexico came out not intimidated, unafraid to go against the U.S.
And I spoke to the Mexican players and they said not qualifying for the World Cup was a huge wake-up call for the Federation, and it was a wake-up call that they wanted to come. They said that, thank goodness they didn't qualify for the World Cup because it forced the Federation to make changes that the players were hoping for a very long time. Moni made some decisions during that World Cup qualifier or during the W Gold Cup where we were covering on the ground that the players did not agree with. Some players being left off the roster that just didn't make sense to anyone that was involved in the program. And so for that to be forced for the Federation to come in and bring someone from the outside, Pedro Lopez, they've talked about how him not being Mexican really helps. I know that it's sometimes criticized to not have a Mexican coach, but it really helps because he doesn't fall into the politics of being the Mexican national team coach that, the different clubs want you to play these players. Pachuca wants you to play this. Tigres wants you to play this. He says, I'm from the outside. I don't need to play into these politics. And that makes an absolute difference to these players because he trusts them. He's confident in them. And you see it via their play.
Yeah, we really saw signs just of how far this Mexican team has come. Jenny, it's good to see you. Thanks so much. We'll see you in a few days' time.
No, for sure. Modric did a great job, but I think it was the fact that they were passing the ball so quickly. They had almost 800 passes in the match, and when Gladbach was pushing high, pressing them high, they were breaking that line of pressure quickly, getting the ball into Modric. Just wonderful, clinical. They were focused for today. But these are two teams that are expected to dominate their domestic leagues, and that's not at all what's happening right now. I mean, Juve is currently in 4th place, Barcelona in 9th. What's happening?
Two teams that are a work in progress, to be honest. Pirlo, for instance, was given the opportunity to run the side, to be the head coach after.
It's Jamaica. How's the victory been taken from a Mexico's perspective? And then how much of a big loss is Edson Alvarez for this Mexico national team now?
Nigel, that's a great point. Edson Alvarez going out is massive just because he is that leader for the team. He does have 2 World Cups under his belt. But I will say that Luis Romo is the player who went in for him after the bit of a leg injury or a muscle injury that we saw from Edson Alvarez. And Luis Romo is the one who ends up getting the assist for the goal Gerardo Arteaga puts in. And it doesn't seem like the team really missed a beat without him. Luis Romo has plenty of experience, and he's played in that center position for the Mexican national team. Mind you, Edson Alvarez also has dropped into the center back position when Cesar Montes was out with an injury. So he's someone that you can play everywhere. He is the captain. He is the trusted player on the team. So in a leadership perspective, you miss so much without Edson Alvarez, who plays for West Ham. But I will say Luis Romo is not really allowing the team to skip a beat. He's the one who puts the assist in, and he does have a control of that midfield. So that's one of the answers to your question. But the other question, Nigel, I don't think that people were incredibly impressed with Mexico. Although they do get the win, and that's a good start, I think the first 20-so minutes is a bit of a chaos from the match, right? Both from Jamaica and Mexico. You're looking for ideas from this Mexican side. That's something that the fan base has been talking about over and over and over again, is that you want to know what the team is doing, and it doesn't seem like they have ideas, that they have hunger. I've been on the show a few times saying that Memote is one of the newer players on the national team. Quiñones only has 5-6 appearances with the national team, and you see a different kind of hunger from these players that have not had this, long, illustrious career with the national team. We see the new era of no Raúl Jiménez, no Irving Lozano, no Memo Ochoa in this tournament, and you're looking for these younger guys, these newer guys, to bring in that energy level. And I think that you saw it from Luis Romo, who has been a part of the team, but who came in as a substitute, and Memote on that front line, bringing different ideas. Quiñones has a bit of energy that is different to what we have seen with this national team. So Mexican media not very happy. The fact that they get 3 points, they get the win is important. You talk about their group, right? Venezuela, Ecuador, Jamaica, Mexico. Mexico should get out of their group no matter what. Out of those 4 teams, you get 3 points against Jamaica. That's massive, but you need to see better performances, and you need to see ideas from this Mexican team.
Jenny, just to stay on that Mexico theme, Mexico obviously a historic nation, produced some fantastic players throughout the history of football. How much pressure are they on in this competition? Because you don't really hear them getting mentioned so much. Is the expectation too much, or is it really a transition phase of Mexico football?
Well, Nigel, I think it is a transition phase. There are changes in the federation. We saw that there have been meetings lately about new regulations that they're putting in for Liga MX. That includes new rules in terms of what foreigners can do, what teams have to do in terms of the younger players that are being put into play. They want to go ahead and build a national team by not just allowing them to bring in foreigners and win the league, right? They want to build players from fuerzas básicas, from the ground up, and that's something that we have been lacking from Mexico. I think a lot of the times what we see is that the financial gain ends up being more important than what we see on the pitch. And we're seeing that now affect the national team, right? When you see that at the club level, certain clubs will benefit, certain clubs will be at a detriment. But now when you see it translated to the national team, when you're not having the players to come in and take over for, let's say, Memo Ochoa, who has been on the national team for over 10 years, now who is the starter to come in after that? And after that, they only have 1-2 caps with the national team. So you're saying we haven't built up the streamline for this player goes out, the next player is building up. So yeah, it's a moment of transition, and the federation is putting rules in place so that their national team come 2026, hopefully, is in a better position to go ahead and perform and compete at this level.
The good news for Mexico so far, so good, isn't it? For
front line as well, the speed that they have. I think you guys pointed out all great things about what this U.S. women's national team we can see. I think my bigger question heading into this, as you guys see, it's raining again as I'm getting pelted in the face, by the way. My bigger question, Ali Krieger, is for you is, what is the psychological aspect of seeing Mia Fischel get injured just yesterday, right? Your own teammate, seeing it live in the same type of weather conditions that we're seeing now. How does that kind of play into whether they're playing timidly or not? Because I did read an article where Vivian Miedema spoke about this, and kind of in the back of your mind, seeing all of these increased ACL injuries in women's football, that makes you think, am I next? We've talked about the off-field ecosystem and how impressive it all has been. When we talk about on-field, we've talked to you over and over again about which players you think have stood out the most, and there's so many to pick here. I know you've talked about Granit Xhaka and being so impressed with his revival under Xabi Alonso, but who else would you pick out for being like really monumental for this season? and then it takes one pass to get back outside into that same exact area, and this is exactly how the second goal comes. Because they were able to see that vulnerability in the wide areas, again, they build up from the outside, scoring the second goal. Well, these were two lower seeds that got into the final, so it was unexpected, but these are two teams that are fighting for their legend, right? Megan Rapinoe on OL Reign's side and Ali Krieger on Gotham's side, and they have made this end of the season for them, right? This is lengthy careers that both of these players have had. They met 15 years ago on the national team. They have been best friends since, and they're facing off in this final. That's the biggest storyline. That's the headliner. And I know it sounds kind of weird to someone who hasn't followed for a long time, but if you've been following women's soccer the way I have, they have been the entirety of my, following of soccer my entire life.
Yeah.
So this is like the culmination of a huge event and these two careers coming to an end, and they get to face off against each other, and it's really beautiful. I mean, they won so much together with the U.S. women's national team. I think most importantly, when you think about what Pochettino has been saying is, yes, I'm not going to die by my style, which I found incredibly interesting. It was really a funny moment when he says, yeah, I'm not trying to die. A lot of managers come in and they're saying, this is the style we're going to play no matter what you think. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. This is the style that I want to play. I want to play out of the back. I want to play possession football. We know what he wants to do. But he said, if the players are unable to do that, we are able to adjust. We're going to see what we have available to us in terms of the players and what they provide and whether or not they can fit into the system he wants to play. And if they can't, he will adjust. I think that's what's most important. He's saying, yes, we're going to give them a framework. See what the creativity is within that. The player I spoke to talked about that. The fact that they are able to be creative within the framework that he has created for them. I think that's the best thing you hear in football, Stefano. I know you know it too. I want the ability for these players to do the magic that they can do. I want Christian Pulisic to feel free to go from the right side to the left side and left side to the right side and do whatever he wants within what Mauricio Pochettino wants from this U.S. team.
And also, Jenny, how important is the display tonight?
Draw against Brazil, but does that intensify how successful they need to be in this competition?
Well, I think that what you're asking, Nigel, is whether or not he should be or will be the coach for the World Cup come 2026 that the United States is hosting. I think Copa America will be very indicative of where U.S. soccer goes from here. I think the plan originally was to have him lead Copa America and then all the way through to the home World Cup in 2026. But if there is a failure in this Copa America, I do think that there is plenty of pressure to potentially replace this coach, especially with all of the criticism that has come along with it.
Jenny, so good to see you. We miss you up here.
Talk about how much this team has been working for moments like this. I know that you guys didn't qualify for the World Cup. That was a big hit. But now you guys are in this position where you win against the United States for the second time ever.
Mm-hmm. I was just telling that to my teammates, saying how it's little by little. I think that, I just got on the team again. I think that for a year now, I think they've been working paso a pasito, like it's not
step
like...
Step by step.
Yeah, step by step, because I feel like you can't... It's not overnight, and I feel like this selección is going to go very far.
Yeah, well, just to give you guys a little bit of info, I was on the national team with Steffi at the U17 level, and she was on the bench the entire time. And here she is at the starting goalkeeper for the full national team. Congratulations, Stephanie.
Thank you.
That's Alex Morgan, Lynn Williams, all those players. As a not striker, she's the only non-striker on there, and then the U.S. women's national team is playing her as an outside back. I'm not saying she's not
Where
great.
do you think she needed most?
Yeah, half of Twitter loves what you're saying, and the other half of Twitter is very upset. And guess what? You're both right. She's that good.
She is. Where does she want to play? She wants to play in the attack. That's where she's going to do it.
So where do you think she's?
Who does she start over?
Is going to play her? And where do you think she's most needed on the U.S. women's national team?
As an 8, potentially. So let me make my case with some video footage, and then we can get to the questions. How does that sound?
Exhibit A over here.
Jenny.
Go.
This is a good proof. Look, here she is at the top of the box, attacking that ball defensively, and then they're immediately on a breakaway. Kylian Mbappe's relationship with Lionel Messi has been under the microscope since the two were paired together at Paris Saint-Germain, but the French star showed support for his World Cup final opponent by speaking out against PSG supporters for their treatment of the Argentine star. Speaking to Gazzetta dello Sport, Mbappe said, quote, "Personally, I haven't really understood why so many people were relieved that he was leaving. We're talking about Messi. He should be respected, but instead he didn't get the respect he deserved in France." Mbappe's own future at PSG is in question after news emerged that he won't exercise his contract option. A cambiar las cosas en el mediocampo porque había más números ahí. ¿Sentiste que tú fuiste la diferencia ahí?
Pues al final el equipo y el míster buscó tener esa superioridad en el medio porque ya se acumulaban mucha gente. También yo puedo meterme a la línea defensiva, estar cerca para poder meterme. Entonces creo que ayudó un poco al equipo y la verdad es que fue de todas, no nada más soy yo, fue un trabajo de todo el equipo y la verdad es que lo hicimos muy bien.
Yeah, it's not just me. The team did a really great job. What the coach wanted from us was to overload the midfield, and that's exactly what we did. It allowed me to get into the defensive line while also being in the midfield line.
He knows what he's doing. He has made a plan. It's now been 4 years that he's been at the head of this team now, and they have an identity, right? He talks about understanding what the U.S. men's national team under Mauricio Pochettino can look like. He said, I don't think they can do a back five. They can play in a 4-3-3. They can play in a 4-2-3-1. So he's already anticipating what the U.S. can do. And the players that he has, while not these big names, they continue to perform very well. He said, we've beat the United States, we've beat Canada, right? Canada's who they play next year while the U.S. plays Mexico next. And we can do it again. Why could we not be able to do it again?